Well, hello. Let me check. Not looking like I'm live yet, am I? Well, yes I am. Alright, good. Never gets easier. How are we, everyone? Thank you for joining this afternoon. Well, we've got a good conversation coming up with the leaders of plant-based universities. That's at 5 o'clock. Hey, Tristan King, how's it going? Nice to see you. Thanks for joining. Starting out with Fast Action Network, you've inspired me to get back on it with this. Let me kill this because it's going to make noise. Right, let's go. We'll start with a little Fast Action Network. And we will look at some good news. Good news all around. About Quorn sales bouncing back and about... Oh dear, why isn't this working? My email's not working. Ah, okay. I guess that worked. We got some good news about Quorn sales and also about Tyson, who are closing down more beef processing plants. Beef has just taken a beating lately. It's a terrible time to be in the beef business. But we're going to read all about it. We'll fire off some fast actions first. We're at action.thehumaneleague.org. No doubt Tristan King is already up to date on all of these. Just got a call from an annoyed lady from HP Hood. They're being targeted by the Fast Action Network. Nice, Tristan. What did you call them, or you put your number in a contact form or something? It's quite good when you see some signs that they are rattled and that they're responding to the campaign. Didn't I just do this? Oh, this is the contact form. I just did the email. All right, let me not dox my info here. Good, that was easy. So we got the boys from plant-based universities coming on at 5. Got some good questions lined up for them. And it's a really interesting organisation, plant-based universities, because ostensibly the theory of change is getting institutional change on the food provided. And that is, you know, the most direct thing. There he is. There's the king, ahead of the game as always. And that is the direct thing that's being changed. But I kind of think that the most important part of the theory of change is really empowering people to realize this is something they can do. And that sounds kind of like cliche in a way, or like a little bit cringe, like, oh, empowering. But it can be so formative for somebody who's at the start of their career, at the start of their life. Like, university is a very formative time for a lot of people. That is where, you know, decisions are made about how you're going to spend your next 10, 20, 30 years in terms of your career, in terms of your hobbies, in terms of your outlook and the impact that you have on the world. So I think it's just incredibly important to be reaching people in universities. And not just getting them to go vegan, but getting them to actually drive the change. Be Vegan 2.0. Do you know, I got my Google account dinged. I got some sort of notification saying that I had broken the rules of Google reviews from taking part in this. So let's see if I'm still able to do this. It's very disappointing that Heresy continues to support animal abuse through caged eggs. Do better. Let's see if I can actually do this. If not, I can always change my Google account. Oh, look at that. I didn't get any points this time. Normally I get some points from posting Google reviews. Nil point this time around. Yeah, I got an email from Google saying someone in your organization has broken our terms of service and broken our rules. And I'm thinking, Christ, who's done this? What's my team been up to? What misadventures have they been on? But alas, it was actually, 'twas I. I have to select a brand that I'm commenting on. What brand am I commenting on? This is Unilever Philippines generally. Food Solutions, that seems appropriate. Good. It's from a contact form. She was like, we're a New England dairy company and CEO from Oklahoma. So I was thinking maybe there's a mix up. They're rattled. I love that, Tristan. Keep at 'em. Why would you not still care about animal abuse in a different state? That's such a bizarre thing for them to have said to you in a way, if you think about it. We see you're not actually from the same state we're in, so it's kind of surprising that you care about animal abuse in another state. Stick to your own state, buddy. Stick to your own lane. Kind of bizarre. God, we're just rinsing the Fast Action Network today. Back up to the 2-week streak. Picking ourselves up. Know how high we got before? Maybe like, I want to say like 15, 20-week streak. Man, I was so sure that I could get 52 weeks. Like, there's no reason. This is easy enough. There's no reason that you couldn't do this every single day, to be fair. But it's just the consistency, isn't it? It's just the persistence and the lack of backing down. Some people have got it. But honestly, I'm happy to set the example of having fallen off and then coming back to it, because I bet that's very normal for a lot of people who do this, right? Hey Oppenheimer, how's it going? Nice, I love that. Been thinking about signing the 10% pledge to commit to donating more. Good for you, man. If you think about it, it's just working one day every other week to save, the estimate's correct, hundreds of thousands of animals that day. Yeah. Hundreds of animals for that day. Yes, that's true. Or taking a 10% salary cut to save thousands plus of animals. Yeah. I think it's so worth doing. I mean, I pledged and did the 10% pledge in 2014 when I was still in university. And I wasn't earning any money at the time. And so basically didn't do anything about it for a couple of years. And then the first money I was earning was a PhD stipend, which was very modest. But because I was used to earning nothing before that, it didn't, you know, I didn't miss the money. I've never regretted doing it. I've given, I worked it out in that video that I did about a year ago, and at that time it was about £22,000. Which, when I thought about it, I was like, wow, that's kind of crazy. That's a lot of money that if I had back now, I would notice it. But I've never spoken to anyone who's done it who has not said that if they had the money back, they would just give it away again, you know? I've never regretted it. I've never thought, oh, I wish I had kept that money or whatever. So yeah, I think it's well worth doing. I think you should do it, bro. I know you're already giving some amount to charity. I think I'm just telling you to actually do it, so you're a big reason for me wanting to do that. Hey, I appreciate that so much, Oppenheimer. I appreciate that so much. Actually, two of my top guides in chat, Interesting King and Oppenheimer, when I started doing this YouTubing, I really didn't know how much it would catch on or at all. Like, I'm trying to spread ideas I think are going to help animals, but who knows, right, if you're going to end up shouting into the void. And if you just have like one or two people, and I know there's more in the audience as well, who really take it seriously and do consistently do Fast Action Network or end up giving a lot of money to charity, it's so worth it from my perspective. It's so gratifying to know that it's able to move the needle so much. God, I was reading that Reddit post that someone made about my YouTube the other day. That was very self-indulgent to read on stream, but that was really nice as well. That I had helped somebody get past their Vistopia. Oh, I forgot to do this on another tab. Okay, I just doxed my address and everything. Well, there you go. Do I have to fill all this in? I'm just going to do the HB Hurd. This is the one that called Tristan. I can't believe that actually phoned you up. That's crazy. Phone number's not valid. Can I just do no phone number? Nice. But I absolutely love that Oppenheimer, and yeah, give it a try, and maybe you do it for like 2 or 3 months, and then you find, wow, it's really actually a struggle to live on this. And if you do, that's totally, you know, nobody's expecting you to be like going without to a large extent in order to give money to charity. That's not what it's about. But you might find it's easier than you think, you know? I think that's the other thing people say about it, in my experience. Like, it seems like a really big thing. Am I really going to give away 10% of my money going forwards? Yeah, a lot of people say it's easier than expected. And it's not, you know, you're not signing a contract for the rest of your life. If you start doing it and find that it's really not feasible for you, then you can cut it out, you can adjust it, you can go down to 5%, whatever it may be. But yeah, I really, really love that you're thinking about doing that. And I love that you told me as well. Good commitment device there, because you know I'll ask you about it now as well. You gotta do it, because you know I'll ask you about it. Right, let's... I didn't set any limit on how much Fast Action Network I would do, and now I'm going hog wild. 781, it's a bit too much to get 800. Let's do like a few more, and then we'll crack on with some news. There's some good news to get to as well. There's the king. Oh, need to edit this. There it is. Get the tag in. Right, I'll do a couple more. This will get, it says 785. Let me take this off tab. And then we'll look at Quorn, and then we'll look at Tyson. And then we'll have the lads from plant-based universities. Boom, lovely. Right, last one. Nice. These guys are going to be phoning me up saying, you're not even in the US, mate." I love that they called you, Tristan. I love that they're panicking. Ha 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 ha. Oh yeah, absolutely, Oppenheimer. Yeah, if you are working the kind of job where you are kind of between clients or between jobs at certain points, I think it's totally reasonable to pause it then. Again, there's no like contract that you're binding yourself to. You basically sign up, you'll do, set up your direct debits or whatever. And then, yeah, if you find you ever need to stop or pause or reduce them, totally you're allowed to do that. There's no one's going to come knocking on your door, you know. I might. No. Yeah, it was really funny. I just said I'm concerned for the welfare of the hens in their supply chain. Yeah, totally reasonable, Tristan. Totally reasonable. I mean, what can they say to that? Well, you live in the wrong state, so you shouldn't be. Totally reasonable. All right. Quorn Foods UK retail recovery gathers pace, but food service likely to get worse before it gets better. This is from just yesterday in Ag Funder News by Elaine Watson. She's one of the top journalists that covers this kind of stuff. I think she used to write in The Grocer, if I'm not mistaken, or Food Navigator. I've seen her writing in various venues, I feel. Yeah, I appreciate you, Oppenheimer. Get on it, bro. And you can start supporting your favourite Brazilian Vegetarian Society as well. It's early days, but the rate of sale for Quorn's new protein bites is very good and very promising, says CEO David Flockel. So this is Quorn's new product. Now, Quorn products are not necessarily vegan. A lot of them are vegetarian. They do have some vegan products. I have some Quorn vegan products in my fridge right now. But let's see. Things are going well in the great plant-based comeback. This is the latest evidence of that. And I called this earlier this month. I've been seeing the signs of the turnaround for the plant-based sector. It's been a rough few years since the peak in about 2021, but now the great plant-based comeback is truly on. And this is the latest evidence of it, and do not be surprised if you keep seeing more news like this, more stories of a reversal in a declining rate of plant-based sales, a bounce back for companies like Quorn, like Beyond Meat, like this and others. We're seeing sales rates growing in many key European markets. We're seeing the price of plant-based alternatives coming down below the price of meat for the first time ever, which is driving a lot of this. So it's generally a pretty huge time for the sector. And Quorn, of course, one of the OGs, one of the big companies doing meat-free. And they're back, baby. Meat alternatives maker Quorn Foods is beginning to emerge from a prolonged slump, with sales growing modestly in Q2 and margins rebounding as restructuring measures and a stronger performance in UK retail offset weaker sales in food service. The firm, which is owned by instant noodles giant Monday Nissin, said its protein segment, comprising the Quorn and Cauldron brands, generated revenues of 7.3 billion. God knows what currency that is. I don't know what currency that is, but I'm going to read the dollars, I guess. $120 million in the first half of 2020. Anyone know what currency this is with the P? Is this... I want to say Japanese, but that's yen, right? I don't know what that is. $120 million in the first half of 2026, up 2.2% on a constant currency basis versus the first half of 2025. Core net income was $1.7 million versus $3.5 million core net loss in the first half of 2025, said CFO Nick Cooper on the firm's earnings call. Wow, okay, so they are in profit now, which they were not before. And there would have been a few years like this when the demand cooled very quickly and then their costs are shooting past their revenues. And now they're back into profitability. So this is very, very positive news for one of the biggest meat alternative companies. We see growing momentum in UK retail, and I expect the second half of the year in the UK retail to be as strong as, or even stronger than the first half. But at the same time, we have a lot of work to do in food service, and that will be a drag in the second half of the year, and it's likely to get worse before it gets better. Wow, okay, so they are... Firstly, it's worth saying retail will be the lion's share here. Most of their sales will be in retail. So they kind of have this story throughout this article, it seems, that, well, retail is going well, but then food service is still difficult. Keeping it in proportion here, retail is mainly where it's at for Quorn. And overall, you know, their income is up on Quorn products. Hi, Alicia, how are you doing? Nice to see you. What's the geographical reach for Quorn? Well, Quorn, I know they're based in the UK, but they definitely have products in Europe and in the US. I imagine pretty global. And they're owned by, again, I'm not sure exactly where this is from, wherever this currency is. Here, let me put that in chat. Maybe someone knows. Someone knows what's going on with that. And the CEO, is it? CFO, says that they expect the second half of the year to be at least as strong as the first half of the year. So really, really, really good news for Quorn here. Oh, couldn't happen to a nicer company, honestly. Hey, Martin, how's it going? Nice to see you. Beyond and Impossible did a decent percent in B2. I worked on that in 2019 for the US market. Oh, nice. In B2B, oh, I see. Nice, Alicia, that's awesome. I didn't know that you work in this area. That's really cool. Yeah, I think Beyond is a buy, you know. Hey, that's another thing, Oppenheimer. You're going to have the Beyond millions to donate soon. Oppenheimer's buying up that Beyond stock at bargain basement prices. It's going to the moon, lads, I tell you. New products tap into protein snacking trend. CEO David Flockel highlighted the early performance of recent launched Protein Bites, which Quorn has placed both in meat-free fixtures and food-to-go sections in UK retail, and is now introducing into the food service channel. It's early days, but the rate of sale is very good and very promising, to a point that has been helping us to unlock even further distribution for the second half of the year. There's a key driver of the continuous double-digit growth in snacking that we've been enjoying in Q2. Well, hell yeah. I do appreciate that. And I really don't know if that product is vegan. Anyone know if these Quorn Protein Bites are vegan? I know a lot of Quorn products do have eggs in them. It's not something that I've had, but definitely something that I would try if it's vegan. I love a little bit of protein snacking. I've been doing lately is just slicing up a block of tofu and bang it in the air fryer. and then I'll just bareback that, maybe with a bit of barbecue sauce. Just getting that tea in, you know. But it's not as convenient as it could be, so I'll get out the chopping board, right? So I do appreciate these, like, just prepared, ready to go, especially if you're on the move. That's, like, super helpful. Hey, Jeremy, how's it going? Nice to see you. Oh, that's cool, Alicia. Hosting Given What We Can salary calculator thing, seeing that if you're in 18,000 a year or more, you're in the top 10% of people globally, even adjusting for cost of living. Yeah, that's just crazy, Oppenheimer. That is like, yeah, it almost doesn't bear thinking about too much, hey? Because that's not a lot to live on. And yeah, you still end up in the top 10%, even adjusted for cost of living. Like, wow, 90% of people are worse off than that. It really does make you think, you know, if you're earning even the average salary, you're going to be like top 5%. Is wild. Been keeping an eye on Beyond Stock out of curiosity. Yeah, I saw they had another tumble since I said it's a buy, to be totally fair. But, you know, buy the dip, that's what they say, right? Oh, damn. Sorry to hear that, Jeremy. Yeah, well, they need to get woke. Actually, South Korea, that's like my third story if we had time today, which we might do. South Korea is just about banning dog meat, right? And it's not banned yet, and this story in Reuters is like, people are savouring the last chance to get their dog meat. Bit like perverse that that's the angle, but you know, definitely good progress there. That's probably something worth making some noise about, honestly. Always try to catch a falling knife, true, Oppenheimer. That knife's going to the moon, trust me. Yeah, that's very much the meta at the moment, Jeremy. But we're getting, you know, we've got the Quorn bites coming in, so what can we say? The format's particularly attractive because it can reach consumers beyond the traditional meat-free category while commanding higher price points and improving margins, added Monday Nissin CEO Henry Sosanto. We're seeing these new snacking products, such as protein bites, building good potential, playing into new convenient retail formats for single consumption, catering to a much wider audience even beyond the UK and Europe. We also believe that this is a scalable new part of the portfolio where taste, convenience and health are rewarded with higher price points, which will be accretive to the gross margin of the protein portfolio as a whole. What is this word? Have they misspelt that, or am I missing a beat? The word accretive means growing or increasing by gradual successive additions. Well, there you go. Word of the day. I'm getting a strong vibe this is Japanese. That's definitely a word that one would use if English is not one's first language. I've never come across that word before, but good for Henry Susanto. Well, here you go. Look, there's that little bit of growth for Quorn. Cauldron still down 4%. Overall market down 2.5%. Private label, which means supermarket label, down 11.3%. That's kind of surprising to me. I would have thought that's a sector that would, or a category that would be doing well. Quorn brand sales performed ahead of the market in second quarter of 26, with plus 0.7 growth. Quorn chilled growing at plus 0.5%, frozen growing at plus 0.9%, Cauldron decline of 4%, sorry. Overall market decline at 2.3% for 2026. Where is this from? The UK retail. Okay, this is UK retail sales meat alternatives. I'm very surprised about the private label, though. this is where I would have thought that the growth is, honestly. But good for Quorn for outperforming the market here, you got to say. And you know the other thing I'm kind of pleased about as well, as a UPF enjoyer? They're not seeing, this is not like a story of big growth from Cauldron, which is their falafel and other, I think they do tofu as well. More sort of Whole Foods brand, which a lot of companies are saying, oh, we're going more towards like the Whole Foods kind of style of products. We're UPF enjoyers here. We like the meat alternatives. I think that's where it's at. I think that's where the future is. So I'm pleased to see that it's actually Quorn, not Cauldron, pulling in the growth. Good for them. Food service remains the problem child. Quorn has made meaningful progress on 2 of the 3 pillars of its Transform to Win Together plan, fixing UK retail and rebuilding gross margins through supply chain improvements. However, sales in the food service channel, which accounts for 18% of the protein business, what did I say? I said 20%. Am I a genius? I can't believe it was that close, to be honest. Which accounts for 18% of the protein business, fell 5% in Q2, a disappointing result, said Quorn Foods CEO David Flockel, a CPG industry veteran brought into the business in 2024 to lead a turnaround. So, I mean, this section is about food service continuing to be a problem, but let's keep it in perspective. That's only less than 1/5 of the business overall. And the 4/5, being Quorn sales in retail, are back in growth. So, early signs of the plant-based comeback. We're still seeing it. You're going to start spotting this trend now that I've said it. We're going to see more examples of this coming. Quorn is now applying the same back-to-basics approach in food service as the team has deployed in UK retail and seeks to diversify beyond education and healthcare into higher margin business and industry channels, said Flockel. It's also unlocking new opportunities through Protein Bites, and its blended meat offering enabled food service partners to combine meat and microprotein to create hybrid products, which are now gaining traction in several markets. Interesting. Okay. I wish I could summon a bit more enthusiasm in myself for the hybrid products, to be honest. I know it's a big trend at the moment, and a lot of people in alt proteins are excited about it, and you know, it is a way to displace demand for animal products. Obviously, those products are not aimed at vegans. They're not really for us. I think it's still important that, you know, there are those kind of, what would you say, like transition products. I just can't get myself that excited about them somehow. Kind of wish I could. I don't know. Dog farm in Korea fully phased out early next year. Laws passed over a year ago. It's freeing up a large amount of resources in Korean animal rights, as well over half was previously devoted to the dog meat trade, as far as I'm aware. Wow, okay. Damn, all right. Well, hey, maybe that's good for, that's going to be good for other animals in South Korea. I mean, my understanding is by the numbers, dog meat's not super common there, right? It's not like chicken here is, you get dog subways and stuff like that, right? It's still pretty niche. But obviously dogs are so sympathetic, it's kind of unsurprising that they absorb a lot of the resources. Hopefully that means that there are resources still going to animal rights and able to help other animals, rather than just like people stop giving now that the dog trade's gone. Let's hope so, hey. In the long term, I remain convinced and confident that we can drive positive contribution and growth for that food service channel. However, in the short term, there's still a lot to be fixed. Organisational right-sizing. Looking ahead, CFO Nick Cooper cautioned that the improving sales trajectory will not be linear. Q2 benefited from a relatively weak prior year comparison, while higher input costs due to the Iran war are expected to hit gross margins more heavily in Q3 and Q4. Well, that is probably true, but as I always say, when these input costs for plant-based products or for mycoprotein products is technically a fungus, technically not plant-based, When those input costs for alternative proteins go up, they're going up even more so for animal protein. So even if the cost of Quorn or other meat alternative products does go up, probably relative to the animal products they're replacing, they're going to get cheaper. So we'll see. We'll see. Nevertheless, management expects further supply chain savings to offset much of that pressure, said the firm, which has gone through several rounds of restructuring and layoffs as part of an organisational right-sizing process over the past couple of years. This is one of my favourite meat alternative adverts. I'm always saying you want to put the animals in the picture as much as you can. Whilst I'm quite forgiving that a lot of meat alternative companies don't want to go there, I think, Quorn's been good in doing it in kind of a playful way that's going to be acceptable to the public, where you have the little hand puppet pig here, and I think they've got a cow as well and a chicken who enjoy cooking together. There's a picture of them on a family holiday up there. So yeah, good for Quorn for using a bit of animal imagery in their marketing as well. Again, I think that's mainly not the responsibility for meat alternative companies. I think that's for us to do as animal advocates. It's for us to spread the message, and more importantly, I would say to fund the spreading of the message through things like Project Slingshot and other, demand side focused interventions. And I think that messaging will inevitably help these meat alternative companies as well. Keep an eye on the time because I want to get to Tyson before the PBU lads come on. US sales account for 5.5% of Quorn food business. High in protein and fibre and low in saturated fat and calories, Quorn mycoprotein is an edible filamentous fungus called Fusarium veneatum, first discovered growing in soil in Buckinghamshire in the UK in the late 1960s and grown at a commercial scale using a controlled fermentation process in large steel tanks. Launched in the UK in 1985, Quorn was introduced to the US in 2002. Its parent company, Marlow Foods, was acquired by Monde Nissin, one of the leading consumer packaged foods companies in the Philippines. Okay, there you go. That's where that currency's from. In late 2015 for $831 million. Cauldron Foods, a UK-based brand founded in the early 1980s, was acquired as part of the same deal. According to Monde Nissin's 2025 annual report, the UK accounted for 79.1% of sales in its meat alternatives business in full year 2025, with 5.5% coming from the US and the remainder from the Republic of Ireland, mainland Europe, Southeast Asia and Australasia. So there you go. That's for Alicia was asking about where Quorn's reach is. Seems like pretty much everywhere, basically. Although heavily concentrated in the UK, worth noting. In UK grocery retail, Cauldron was the number 6 alt meat brand with a 3.5% value share in 2025, while Quorn was number 1 with 27.8%, according to Circana data cited in the report. Wow, Cauldron at number 6 is a little bit surprising to me. I wouldn't have guessed that. Quorn at number 1 I probably would have guessed. Second has got to be Linda McCartney. Maybe this third? This are doing very well. You see a lot of this products. Let's actually have a look at that report real quick and see if they give the rankings. What was the percentage so I can control F? It's 27.8. Doesn't say. Okay, well, I would bet it's Linda and then this. Beyond, maybe? I don't know in the UK. But good for Quorn. This is really, really good news for the UK's number 1 meat alternative brand. The retail recovery gathers pace, is back in profit. And the top people there are expecting an even better second half of 2026. So the great plant-based comeback continues. Let it be known. Someone posted this on LinkedIn. It was Lane Watson, in fact, posted this on LinkedIn. And I commented, called it, with a link to our great plant-based comeback insight on Bright Research. Oh, it's nice being right early. It's nice being right early. Right, we got the lads from Plant-Based News coming on in 20 minutes. Let's take a look at the real juicy stuff, though. We have got another beef processing plant closure from Tyson Foods, the US's biggest meat company. Major retail meat company closes plants, lays off over 3,200. Leading meat processor closing 2 beef facilities. This is not the first time this has happened. We were doing a little bit of gloating about Tyson closing down production plants earlier this year, as I recall. Or maybe it was last year, but it's not that long ago at all. There was one in I want to say Nebraska and Iowa. I don't think this is talking about the same plants. Let's see. A historic drop in the size of the US cattle herd to a nearly 75-year low of 86.2 million head as of 1st of January 2026, according to the US Department of Agriculture, is putting pressure on the beef industry, resulting in plant closures. Beef processing companies such as Tyson Foods have closed plants over the last year as a result of the decline of cattle in the industry. Giant beef processor Tyson Foods is ending operations at its beef plants in Joslin, Illinois and Eagle Mountain, Utah, which will result in the layoff of about 3,200 employees. The Springdale, Arkansas-based company also plans to sell its Pasco, Washington beef facility. Wow, so there's 2 of these closing down and one of them being sold. Maybe that will carry on being a beef processing facility for someone else. Maybe it won't be. But the giant beef processor Tyson Foods is getting rid of 3 beef processing plants, and these are not the same ones that we read about earlier in the year. So I'm sure they're going to reference the previous story that I'm talking about, but they closed other beef processing facilities like in the last few months. It is a very bad time to be in the beef business, I'm telling you. About 2,500 employees of the Joslin facility were affected immediately with layoffs following Tyson's abrupt announcement on August 13th that it would close that facility, according to KSFM TV5 in Fort Smith, Arkansas. Tyson will also lay off up to 723 workers at its Eagle Mountain beef facility, according to a Worker Adjustment and Retraining Notification Act filing with the Utah Department of Workforce Services that the meat company submitted on August 13th. So this is super new news. This is like in the last week, they've declared that they're shutting down both of these 2 plants. Beef is really, really not going well. Beef is going terribly, which is delightful. Employees of the Eagle Mountain facility will be compensated through October 12th, 2026, which is expected to be the final day of operations. You know, for the people who are losing their jobs here, I do hope that this marks like a bit of a turning point, because working in a slaughterhouse is one of the worst jobs imaginable, has one of the highest rates of staff turnover, i.e. people leaving, typically upwards of 100%, meaning that there are more people leaving each year than there are actually total people working there. And yeah, it's just a terrible time for beef. Prices are through the roof. Demand is through the floor. This is despite all of the propaganda from Trump's administration, Make America Healthy, the new food guidance, which gives beef far more credibility than it should ever have had. It's just cratering. It's just not going well at all for the beef industry. The meat processor said affected employees can apply for open positions at other Tyson facilities. I really hope they don't. Like, these people, I mean, look, this is generally like minimum wage, one of the least desirable jobs that you can have. And I hope this prompts enough of these people who are going to be losing their jobs in slaughterhouses to go and do something else, because this is not what you want to be doing. It's a terribly depressing life. I mean, we've watched interviews with slaughterhouse workers where they talk about the trauma that they have and the nightmares and everything else. It's just no way to be living. So I really hope that the people affected by the layoffs here go and do something else with their lives. And I'd love to talk to any of them. You know, if anybody knows or perhaps can clip this and send to or circulate people who are affected by these layoffs, by Tyson Foods closures, I'd love to hear from them. I'd love to talk to them, because I'd love to hear about their experiences and how they feel when this kind of thing happens. The news stories about these slaughterhouse closures are always about the layoffs and there's people who are going to lose their jobs and so on. Obviously, in the grand scheme of things, that is nothing compared to what the animals are going through. And it's a positive utility thing that these places close down, even if it means that some people are losing their jobs. I really hope that this becomes a prompt for many of these people who are losing their jobs in the slaughterhouse to go and do something better with their lives. You only get one life. Do you really want to spend it stabbing cows all day long? Not surprised they often suffer from PTSD. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Can you imagine? Oh. National Cattlemen's Beef Association CEO Colin Woodall said in a statement that the closures would significantly impact the industry in the Midwest region. NCBA is troubled by the closure of the Joslin beef processing facility. For many years, the plant has played a vital role in the Midwest beef supply chain, and its closure will significantly impact cattle producers, employees, and rural communities across the region, Woodall said. We encourage Tyson to work closely with its long-standing customers to identify alternative marketing opportunities for their cattle. Yeah, of course, no mention of the primary group of stakeholders who this closure will affect, which is the cows. Yes, it will affect cattle producers, employees, and rural communities. It will also affect cows. And in the grand scheme of things, it's actually not acceptable to have a few thousand jobs in exchange for hundreds of thousands of animals getting knives in the throat. And, you know, it's not a good thing for those employees as well. So I hope they're able to find something better to do with their lives. I really do mean that, you know. Many of these people will have already had a lot of thoughts about leaving their jobs. Many of them will have very mixed feelings about the closure because, of course, while it sucks, they're going to be disrupted. They're going to, miss out on a few months of pay while they find the next job, for example. In a year's time, if they go and do something else, there's just no way that they're not going to be happier and more fulfilled. Nobody's first choice of job is sticking a knife in the throat of animals all day long. See Humane Hancock's documentary where he interviewed a slaughterhouse worker, talked about perpetrator trauma, which was interesting. Yes, I did see that Oppenheimer. Really good documentary. I recommend people watch that. Humane Hancock's The Dying Trade. And yeah, we've done a bit of research on that topic as well. It's very, very common for people who work in animal farming or in, animal processing, as they delicately put it in euphemistic terms, to suffer from what's called PITS, which is, perpetrator-induced traumatic stress. It's like PTSD from having done the bad thing. And they'll have nightmares that they're killing animals and stuff like this. It's very, yeah, that can mess people up. Company launches strategic restructuring. Ha ha ha, delicious. That means it's going down. That means it's going down. Tyson is restructuring its beef operations around 3 strategically located beef facilities in Dakota City, Nebraska, Holcomb, Kansas, and Amarillo, Texas, to create a more competitive footprint amid one of the most historic cattle shortages the country has ever experienced, the company said in a statement. Recent cattle inventory data from the US Department of Agriculture, which included evidence of limited heifer retention, indicates the supply constraints are likely to persist, requiring strategic action. These decisions underscore the significant challenges that historically low cattle inventories continue to create across the beef cattle industry, Whittle said. This is more good news for the plant-based sector. I hate to say it. This is more good news for the plant-based sector. Just when the plant-based meat category is seeing prices come down below the price of animal meat for the first time in history, we're having these historic shortages of cows across the US and across the UK as well. And yeah, this is going to create more opportunities for the plant-based sector. The transition is happening. Well, we are disappointed by these developments. It's just delicious. It's just delicious to, like, we're seeing the collapse of animal farming. It's happening quite slowly, but we're seeing the collapse. No, they're going to talk about the previous plants that they closed down. While we're disappointed by these developments, they also reinforce the importance of rebuilding the nation's cow herd and maintaining adequate processing capacity to support cattle producers, strengthen marketing opportunities, and ensure a resilient beef supply for the future, Whittle said. I mean, what else can they do in terms of marketing? They've already influenced the USDA food guidelines to give undue significance to red meat. They're already attacking alternatives as ultra-processed. They already have all of their euphemisms and misleading talking points around nutrient density and other things like this, which completely gloss over the increase in chronic disease risk. So, like, what more can they do? Their propaganda's been turned up to 11 for years. Maybe it's just time to accept that beef is going down. The beef processing capacity of the closed facilities would be moved to the more strategically located facilities with ample capacity to grow. The company said it will also restart a second shift at its Amarillo location when cattle become available. Yeah, so they're saying this. I mean, there's going to be fewer cows killed. They didn't want to say that. They said, oh, we're going to move things around. We're going to grow these other facilities. There's going to be fewer cows killed. In terms of, if you were to count on a clicker every time there's a knife stuck in the throat of a cow in the US, that number is going down. So they're kind of dressing it up. They don't want to alarm investors and stuff like this, but like, this is not going well for the beef sector. They make no mistake about it. Tyson had already laid off nearly 5,000 employees in 2026 after plant closures in Nebraska and Georgia, as well as downsizing in Texas, KFSM reported. I remembered Nebraska correctly. I didn't get Georgia, I think. But yeah, this is what, the fourth and fifth plants, beef processing plants, that Tyson is getting rid of this year? Who would have put money on that at the start of the year? I bet that Tyson is going to get rid of 5 beef slaughterhouses because the beef industry is in the toilet. Who would have put money on that this year? It's going well, lads. The trade association CEO also commended Tyson for seeking a buyer for its Pasco facility instead of closing it. Yeah, we'll see if that happens. Anyone looking to buy a beef slaughterhouse? I don't know. How's the beef market going? Yeah, it's in the toilet. We'll see. We'll see if that sale goes through. I reckon that plant ends up getting closed down as well. We'll see. Tyson Foods' Pasco, Washington beef processing facility is also critical for cattle producers in the Northwest, and we appreciate the company's commitment to seek a buyer rather than pursuing an outright closure, Woodall said. Tyson Foods, which was founded by John W. Tyson in 1935, produces a portfolio of iconic products and brands, including Tyson, Jimmy Dean, Hillshire Farm, Ballpark, Wright State Fair, and Adol's. Tyson's closures follow competitor JBS's food closure of its subsidiary Swift Beef Co. meat packing facility in Riverside, California, laying off 374 employees by February 2nd, 2026, the Los Angeles Times reported. Yeah, so bloody JBS has been closing facilities as well. So that's at least 6 this year. 5 Tyson and 1 JBS facility gone as well. Oh, that's a meat packing facility, so I guess that's a little bit different from what they delicately call processing facilities, which was a slaughterhouse. The 170-year-old Swift issued 60-day worker adjustment and retraining notification notices to employees through the California Employment Development Department on December 4th, 2025, with an expected closure by February 2nd, 2026. The Swift Beef Co. facility in Riverside prepared meat for sale in US grocery stores, but did not slaughter animals, according to a JBS spokesperson. Well, there you go. More news of the demise of the livestock sector, guys. It's just delicious, isn't it? It's really, really delicious. Everything that we hope happens when we give more, share more, and do more is happening, albeit too slowly. Beef prices are through the roof. Beef sales are through the floor. Beef slaughterhouses are closing down. This is the 5th Tyson facility this year that is going down. And they're trying to sell that 5th one. I wonder if anyone's going to buy that. It's not a seller's market right now if you're trying to sell beef slaughterhouses. There's not an abundance of people looking to acquire beef slaughterhouses right now. I hate to tell you that. Tyson's selling it clearly because it's not profitable. Who's going to buy it? The infrastructure for the beef market is just falling apart, and it's delicious. So there you go. This is all happening, guys. This is all happening slower than we would like, but we are getting there. We are going in the right direction. Have you ever wondered what it would feel like when the livestock industries start to fall? It's happening. And look at that. It's as if I planned it. We are up to the hour pretty much exactly. So let me go ahead and fire up the Google Meets. We've got the lads from plant-based universities coming on. In just a minute. Hello, hello. All right, nice. Had a little bit of a panic. I wasn't getting my sound working, but I think we're good. Let's turn this on as well. And we'll have the lads from plant-based universities joining us any minute. But there you go. What do you think about that, guys? There's things going well for the plant-based sector, with Quorn sales, the biggest meat alternative brand in the UK, bouncing back. And meanwhile, the biggest meat company in America closing down beef processing plants. You love to see it. Hi, Ulysses. How are you doing?
Hey Chris, I'm good. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Very well. Thanks for joining. We're live already, by the way, in case you didn't know that.
Yeah, I did. It's really exciting. Thanks for having me and Nathaniel as well.
Absolutely, yeah. Thanks for joining. Really appreciate you taking the time, and really appreciate everything that you're doing on plant-based universities as well. I've just been reading a little bit about it in preparation for our chat, and we spoke like a month ago already, didn't we?
Yeah, we did. And it was following the launch of our open letter, which you kindly accepted to sign and promote, actually. So yeah, really cool that like what plant-based universities is doing and like what Brian's research does as well, actually, and how you've been supporting us with some pieces of research. Actually, there was a study that you guys published, I think, a year and a half ago on how plant-based catering can not only make it obviously more sustainable for universities, but also cheaper for students, up to 30% cheaper. So yeah, I think the work that you do is like really fantastic and such like an important piece of the vegan movement.
Thank you so much for saying that. I really appreciate that. Yeah, no, it's fantastic working with plant-based universities. Hi, Nathaniel. How are you doing?
Oh, good evening. I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Very well, thanks. Nice to see you. Thanks so much for joining. I appreciate you both taking the time.
We're delighted to be here. Yeah, we're really so much of the time. Actually, I was just coming back from the summer camp that we just held in South Germany, and so many times students were saying, "Oh, our catering managers were not thinking this was going to be affordable or whatever." And I was like, "Well, go reference Chris Bryant's research because you've really helped us on that as well." So yeah, there's a really you've really helped our movement as well.
Hey, I really appreciate you saying that. Thank you. And for people who might not know about this in the audience, we did a study, I think 2023, I want to say, maybe 24, where we modeled plant-based and vegetarian and meat-based meals on an actual university menu, which I think was from UCL in the UK. And for each of the meals, we broke them down into ingredients. And then for each of the ingredients, we found wholesaler prices and also carbon footprints and other environmental impacts. And yeah, we found that the plant-based dishes compared to, or the plant-based menu compared to the meat menu was 84% lower carbon impact. But importantly for you guys, because you mentioned, like, obviously it's important from the caterer's perspective, 30% lower in cost as well. Because I know that's been an issue for some of the universities that you've spoken to, and catering managers and decision makers will say, "Oh, it's a financial thing and we can't afford it." It's nice to be able to say, "Yes, you can."
Yeah, absolutely. And this was at a time where we've been established in Europe, and we've now got lots and lots of campaigners in Europe who are quite new and hearing about this for the first time. But it's just as relevant across Europe that plant-based food is going to be cheaper and more affordable, and help lower the prices at canteen outlets.
Yeah, and studies like that are so important because so often we work with catering teams who actually are on board already, or are supportive of this, but they are just worried that it might not work financially. And so then a lot of our work consists in proving to them that it is going to work financially. So this kind of research is incredibly valuable for them.
Yeah, that's really awesome. That's really good to hear, and I'm glad you guys are getting use out of it. But tell me, like, let's start from the top and tell people in the audience who might not know what Plant-Based Universities is all about and what each of you guys do there.
So I can talk a little bit about it, and Nathaniel, you can fill in the gaps. So of course, Plant-Based Universities, it's a student-led movement that started in the UK just less than 5 years ago, but now it's spread to all over Europe and actually now all over the world, because we very recently started the first teams in Kenya, Australia, Mexico, and the US.
Wow.
And I hope I'm not forgetting any of them. We had recently a student from Japan who joined one of our summer camps as well. So hopefully we should be on every continent very soon. And the campaign consists in working with universities for them to adopt fully plant-based catering, not 50% plant-based catering, not meatless Mondays, but fully plant-based catering, because we need just as much. And particularly universities, they need to be leading the way. They need to be setting the highest example, not just the boring example that inspires no one. And especially today, with like so much going wrong in the world, we need institutions to set an exciting example, not just an example, but an exciting and inspiring example. So we call on universities to adopt fully plant-based catering, and through this, we don't just change what they offer, but also the broader narrative that we see in society, because it's a very controversial ask. And anytime we win, we get very often newspaper headlines. So we've had so many headlines in the BBC and the Guardian because they love this kind of thing, because people are going to talk about it. And that's also one of the reasons why we ask for 100% plant-based catering, is because we know that people are going to talk about it, and that's how we shift the narrative. And of course, through that, we also empower like hundreds and hopefully soon thousands of young people who, before joining the movement, I think there's a lot of people today, but particularly young people, who feel a bit not just powerless, but also hopeless, because we grew up in a world that was failing at tackling both the environmental crisis, but also the animal rights crisis. And I remember when I heard about plant-based universities, it was like a post on Instagram that said, Lancaster Uni votes for fully plant-based catering. And I was like, whoa, what is this? And that's what made me join, because I remember I had spent the previous months kind of being desperate about the state of things, both regarding animals, regarding the environment, regarding politics in general. And movements like PBU like plant-based universities give me so much hope. And I think we need movements like this, because we have so much untapped potential today. I mean, polls show that over 90% of students in Europe and the UK think that the climate crisis is the most important issue in the world today. And yet we see less than 1% of students getting active.
Mm.
How can we allow that to happen? We need to activate those people, and it's only going to happen if we give them not only the hope to do it, but also the confidence that they can make it happen. And it's not just, for governments to do it. Students have power. So we give them this confidence, but we also give them the skills to do it, because it's not just, you don't just snap your finger and make it happen, or hold a banner outside your school. You need to have the skills to work with decision makers. You need to know how to shift the narrative. So we give these skills to all of the young people today who want to be doing more. And if we take a step back, I think that's been one of the big missing pieces in both the animal movement and the environmental movement, is this sort of talent creation pipeline. That means that we can feed the whole movement with all of these young people who are passionate, but who just need the skills and the confidence to make it happen. So that's what we do a little bit. And I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Ulysses. I'm from France originally, but I've lived in Scotland for the past 5 years. And I started as a campaigner, and now I'm the UK and Ireland coordinator. So I create teams of students, I train them, and I support them in their campaigning throughout mostly Scotland and Ireland, now that Nathaniel does England and Wales. But I'll let you speak about that, Nathaniel.
Yeah, so I'm Nathaniel. I live in Bristol actually, so just down the road from you,
Oh,
Chris.
awesome.
I hope that's not doxing you. But I joined the campaign like Ulysses as a student, and I actually found out about it because one of Bristol's past votes failed and voted down. But I was really confident that we could make this happen, and this was something that we could do in the future. And I thought maybe I could put a few hours volunteering here and there into it. Probably didn't visualize that it would turn into this. Um, but I felt such a level of inspiration and ability to, to change the world through this, because that's ultimately what I was seeing happening. We got a vegetarian outlet on campus open in Bristol, and it was so successful. But we then opened a plant-based outlet on campus, a fully vegan outlet on campus, and I was so inspired by this. I thought I just can't let this be something, this magic just contained in Bristol. I need to see it spread everywhere. And now I give back to campaign, or I hope to give back my knowledge and skills and pass that on to campaigners across England and Wales. We now have about 20 campaigns in England and Wales alone, and that's only going to grow further with this summer camp that we have at the end of the month, where we've got dozens students from dozens of universities coming. I just get to see campaigners and students grow every day in confidence, and people change their perspectives on what they want to do with their lives as well, which I think is potentially the most special part of it.
Yeah, that's so cool. And I was saying earlier in the stream, something that you both touched on, which is, the most direct part of the theory of change here is about changing the meals at the universities, and that's no doubt a very important part of it. Like there's hundreds of thousands or millions of animals impacted by meals which would have been animal products and are now plant-based meals thanks to the work of plant-based universities, and that's so awesome. But one of the more kind of hidden benefits, and maybe I would say even more important, like longer term, is almost like recruiting people who are then able to be activists for life, and stuff that you do in university becomes so important and formative to what you go on to do later in your life. I was in the Vegetarian Society at Exeter University about 10, 15 years ago, and that's become a huge part of my life, and I think that's so a very typical trajectory that you shouldn't be surprised if things in your 20s and 30s and beyond are like very much rhyming with interests that you had in university and things that you pursue. I think that a lot of students can feel they can't really affect anything, or that it's kind of out of their control to do something about it. But having that empowerment and showing groups that they really can make a change, even with, there's some campaigns that just have like a few people, like ragtag little group of students who you would look at and think, oh, they can't really do anything, but they get these massive wins and achievements, and then they realize, wow, I actually have the power to change quite a lot, and they go on to do more and more things. So that must be a super inspiring part of it, because you guys get to kind of oversee who are all of the students making the change happen at the universities, hey?
Absolutely. And I've only more and more realizing that, like, the importance of this. I was at a really inspiring talk by Joey Savoy at the Vegan and Animal Rights Conference this year about what's missing in our movement, and we realized that it's not money. I know we all disagree with that, but it's the talent, and it's these student chapters that he named specifically that is going to drive this forward and change this. And I think what's particularly special about us, and I was also part of the Vegan Society at my university, but what made plant-based universities really special was, as you said, that it was transformative. And as Ulysses said, this isn't easy work. I really had to step up, and I had to learn how to do all sorts of things on the people-facing front that don't come naturally to me. But through that, I really realized this is something that I have a lot more power in being able to change than I thought I did. And yeah, getting to spend time with campaigners over the space of a year or so long, you see people step up, and as they step up, they help other people step up. And we just see this keep going. It's only going to go further, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is another aspect of plant-based universities that's, I think, so key for the wider movement, is the fact that changing things through institutional change is a much better use of people's time than, speaking to your friends, to people around you, asking them to go vegan. I think this is still vital, it's still important, but I think the vegan movement since its birth probably has been focusing so much on making people vegan, which again is important and it is still needed today. But when I joined plant-based universities, I was interested in what is the best use of my time? How can I have the biggest impact for the animals? And plant-based universities, you know, was made me realize that it is through institutional change, because I see it again and again that even a single person can have a massive impact through institutional change. So, for example, there's this student at a university in Dublin who led a whole campaign all by herself, and it means that the university is now 50% plant-based.
Wow.
And she did that all by herself. That's hundreds, if not thousands of meals. I think the university is 30,000 students.
Yeah.
All of these meals have changed thanks to her. And if she had spent this time on talking to people, asking them to go vegan, the impact would have been much smaller. And I see this again and again and again in one of the most important parts of our work. I think Nathaniel will agree, is that we need to show all of these students that we need institutional change as one of the most effective ways to create a plant-based food system and a vegan world, really.
Yeah, no, that's very well said. It's so cool when you get like one student or a group of three. I think I read about the Southampton one, where it's like half a dozen of, like, they've got their arm around each other, they're wearing their hoodies, and like it's so more powerful surely than they kind of thought they were. Which is really an important part of it, and getting people into that kind of effective activism at an early age. Like, these people have seen that they can change things. They've got a win under their belt. They've got a whole career ahead of them of doing more of the same. And yeah, from your perspective as well, you're developing that like talent pipeline for the movement. And a lot, I'm sure, you know, you mentioned that you wouldn't have thought that you would end up in a official capacity like this when you started doing it. You start and you think, oh, I'll volunteer a couple of hours, but these things snowball. They become who you are and what you get into. Like, it's you know, people shouldn't underestimate the importance of that kind of thing. I noticed on the Southampton one, that was one where they ended up going plant-based defaults instead of 100% plant-based. Now, I know that plant-based universities ask has always been 100% plant-based. Was that case, well, I don't know if you guys know about that particular case, but is that a strategic move? Was that like a local variation? Is it something that you would replicate in the future, or what do you think of all that?
Go for it, Nathaniel.
Okay, perfect. I wanted to talk about this one. I think it's really cool that one of the really big parts of us being student-led and really led by the students and staff at their universities is that they know the context really well of what will work at their universities. So, for example, in the case of the University of Southampton, they actually, I believe it was twice before that they'd presented a motion that got voted down. And in the previous one, they'd offered, oh, maybe we could go 50%. And they said, oh, maybe that's probably not the best idea to pass this motion. But what we really like to frame it as is that even though our overall demand is 100% plant-based catering, and we won't stop campaigning until we get there, we celebrate every step that we get on the way. And we're really focused on what solutions are there that we can progress with to get there. From my experience at Bristol, we also passed a motion that it actually didn't say 100% plant-based in it. It was more about specific actions and the university endorsing the campaign itself. Effectively, implicitly endorsing 100%. And the reason that we do this is because we're trying to find, well, what's the most effective thing that we can do at this moment, even if we know that that's not enough alone to go plant-based by default. But even going plant-based by default is huge. I always like to say that people aren't often paying attention when we're going into the catering outlet, and they'll just get served a vegan meal by accident. that was one of the reasons as well. But we decided to go, well, but Southampton decided to go plant-based by default in this case as well, was to make sure that this was something that we knew would really work there. So we use these motions a lot to get our foot in the door for the negotiation efforts that come later. At Bristol, for example, our motion didn't directly lead to the vegetarian and the plant-based canteens. We had to then negotiate with the catering team to open them. But we know they're a really big way of, first of all, reaching the press and showing that this is something that students care about, because so often they aren't reporting on this, but also to really help give credibility to our campaign and show that the students are behind it. We find when we start out that the catering team use students a lot of the shield to say, oh, well, the students wouldn't support this, even if this is a nice idea. And by passing these motions, we really show that that's not the case, and it's actually the opposite. It's the catering staff that are holding it back.
Yes, and this is a core aspect of our culture, actually, is this pragmatism of looking at what is the impact. And we're trying to kind of in opposition from this purist vegan approach of like, it's either fully abolitionist or it's nothing. And I think this is doing, in most cases, I think it's doing more harm than good to our movement, because there's lots of wins along the way that aren't harming the movement, and that are actually getting us closer to our goals. So this, always looking at the impact and being pragmatic is one of the things that we're really trying to pass on to all of these students, so that they're aware of the limitations of our current context, and moving away from this idealism as well that we can sometimes have in the movement, which is really good in certain context, but it has its place.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm a big fan of pragmatism and incrementalism. I think there's a lot to be said. And as you said, Nathaniel, it's not that you are stopping there. Like, you'll keep on campaigning for the 100% ask. But why not take an incremental win if you can get it, basically. And that's very interesting about like the political realities, I guess, at different universities, where if you have 100% plant-based ballot or vote, I guess, at a university, and it gets voted down, there are other things that you can ask for depending on the win rate and everything else. You mentioned that Bristol had a failed initiative at first. I would have thought that Bristol's one of the woker universities. That's kind of surprising, but
yeah, it took us 3 attempts, 3 years until we got our motion passed. But yeah, it's always really surprising. I think our first win was at Stirling University, and no offense, Ulysses, but I would never have expected it to be or in Scotland at all, and I think at the start of our campaign, we were really just so surprised that like students from all across the UK are supporting it, and the success of the motion often comes down to, are we winning the students enough? Are we putting in enough work to really win them over and explain this? Which is again a really lovely part of it. So yeah.
I think plant-based catering is really unique in the fact that most people are against it until it's framed in the right way. And so in the past, we sometimes had teams bring emotion without doing the proper framing, the proper work to make it happen. And so it failed instantly, which was really good learning. But it's really interesting that actually when you do frame it in the right way, as you know, institutions need to be doing more. They need to make it easy for us individuals to do our part, having an
damn, that's fascinating. Yeah. Have you ever had organized opposition when you have a motion? You get the carnivore society or anything like that. Have you ever seen this kind of thing at universities where you've had motions? Mm. Mm. That's so cool. You guys are doing politics. Like you're both so young, and like this is what politics is like, eh? It's so unsurprising, by the way, that the opposition in the case of Edinburgh had to just lie about what the thing was. Like, when you've encountered that for the first time, you must have thought that's like unforgivably scummy behaviour. But no, it's just so unsurprising to me now. You see so much misinformation and just lies from the animal industries in various forms. It's yeah, nothing would surprise me anymore on that, I fear. Mm. Yeah, that's super interesting, and that's one of the questions I had because I know it's not uncommon that either food science departments or some universities have like agriculture departments. Obviously, they're very much either funded by, in many cases, or collaborating with animal industries, and so I can imagine that at those particular universities, there's implications for the university that are kind of there's political and funding considerations there as well. Um, but I'm glad they haven't been able to hold you down so far. Um, so you guys have had, well, I suppose it's always the case, but some amount more commitments than implementations. My Claude research said 26 commitments and 15 implementations. I feel like they're both a bit low, honestly. I would have. I think that it's more. But you must have some cases where a motion passes and then it doesn't end up happening for one reason or another. What can kind of cause those to stall even when you win the vote? And what can be done about that from your perspective? Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Mm. Wow. Oh yeah, that's awesome. And Graz is one that I read was done by done by one student at their university who kind of led it, and then had hundreds of thousands of meals changed. And you said that one of the outlets went plant based and the other one didn't, and the one that didn't end up closing down because they were just mugged so hard by the one that did. That's awesome. That's so good. And oh yeah, go ahead, Ulysses. Mm. 100%. Yeah, to show that there's support for it, and then there becomes media coverage and other things around that. Yeah, that's a really, really important part of it. And does it get easier from a logistics perspective? I'm imagining like the first time you do this, and Sterling, the motion passes, and that outlet's going to go plant based now. There must be an extent that they're like, oh shit, we have to do this now, and it's dealing with wholesalers and redesign menus and everything else. Is that something that plant-based universities as an organization can kind of learn from and help with in the future? Like wholesalers kind of, the suppliers to the universities kind of know that this is something universities might request at this point, and they know because they did it for the last one. They can kind of, has that been something in your experience? Wow. Wow. Yeah, that's awesome. And when you're the first, there's really, I mean, maybe university see it as an opportunity to be like the first in the country to do this, but there's not pressure. And I know this is a big thing in corporate campaigns as well. Like we do a lot of posting for the corporate cage-free campaigns, where we'll go after a Unilever or supermarkets and restaurant chains and stuff like this, try and get them to go cage-free. And I've heard from people involved in that work that there's a very similar thing where it's a domino effect. If all of the other fast food chains have done it and now McDonald's is the last one who hasn't done it, it becomes a lot more pressure on them. They see that it is possible and feasible because their peers are doing it. They maybe feel that there's some pressure on them that they don't want to be left behind. So it builds momentum like that, and it becomes the pressure switches, and it ultimately becomes like this is the norm, and there will be some stragglers who are the only ones not doing it. You don't want to be in that position, right? Yeah. Yeah. That works in politics as well. Like whenever we're lobbying the UK for something, it's like, oh, we're going to fall behind Europe, we're going to fall behind the US. And it's not untrue, right? It's like, but it's just interesting that that's really a framing that plays well with decision makers. But yeah, no, that's really great. It's so cool that, you guys are, I'm guessing like a couple of years out of university. You're both pretty young guys. Yeah. Oh, you both just graduated. Oh, congratulations. Literally this summer. Oh, fantastic. Congratulations, both of you. That's so awesome. Um, and what is it like then in an organization where, you mentioned that in individual universities, it's kind of rare that there will be more than three motions. Presumably there was someone who is involved in their first year and they kind of carry it through potentially until their third year. And then because there is so much natural turnover in universities, I'm guessing that it's the same to some extent in PBU as an organisation, where it's tended to be run by kind of young people who are, quite freshly out of university. What are the challenges like there when you have? It must be difficult to kind of build up that institutional memory. Is there some boomer in the back office that remembers what the last guys did, or how does that work? Ancient. Yeah, you got a few years in you. Mm. 100%. Yeah, no, that makes a ton of sense. It wouldn't really work to have, yeah, hello fellow kids kind of vibes for whoever's running the organization. And that's also a cool thing about the organization, that it becomes an opportunity for young people to get into it on a professional level as well as in the campaigning with the universities. So yeah, that's really great. Do you guys have ideas about where your careers might take you? I mean, your early days at plant-based universities, so you probably don't have an eye on the door just yet. But any things that you would like to feature in your careers going forward? You're doing it. Mm, yeah, that's so cool. It's an interesting time, isn't it? Because you guys both just graduated. You'll know people, I'm sure, who are off to fancy jobs in finance and law and other areas like this. And I mean, I would hazard to guess that like the non-profit salary is not the highest in the world. But any regrets that you didn't take another path at this point? Right. 100%. Mm. Yeah, that's awesome. I think you guys are barking up the right tree. I mean, I hear from people all the time who are in the early parts of their career, but also like halfway up a ladder, they're realizing they never really wanted to climb that much and looking to transition into doing something in the charity sector or doing something in, animal advocacy and climate protection and so on. I don't hear that many stories of the other way around, I have to say. I don't hear that many people who are like, oh, I've worked in a climate charity for 10 years, but I really want to go into banking now. I'm sure it does happen, but yeah, it seems like the movement is more common in the other direction, I would say. Nice. Oh, that's cool. That's awesome. Um, Nice, yeah, yeah. No, I think you guys are barking on the right tree. I think you're on the right path. It's really inspiring for me to like talk to you both and see some of the young people who are really talented people making a contribution to the movement and starting out at the beginning of what I hope will be, successful careers in advocacy for you both. You're already learning a ton about how to do real politics and advocacy and institutional campaigns. It's such a cool thing to do. Um, I have a couple more questions that I have written down. My dog's threatening to kick off. I might have to get him off the windowsill in a second. Pancakes. All right, he's chilling. Sorry about him. Um, let me get rid of this guy. I won't be a second. Oh, thanks. Sorry about that. Can happen. Can happen. Joys of having a dog. That. Yeah. So I want to ask about one specific thing. I don't know if you've ever had cases of this, but it's. I was listening to a podcast recently where they were talking about this. Have you ever had cases where universities are open to removing red meat only? Because you guys will probably know in effective animal advocacy, we talk about the small body problem where basically there's many more animals required to produce the same amount of poultry or fish compared to beef or pork, for example. From a climate perspective, beef would be the main ask. And I think that I can imagine universities going for that and say, okay, we'll give up red meat. From an animal perspective, that's maybe a bad thing on balance. Have you ever come across that as a suggestion? How do you kind of navigate that? Mm, Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, that's good to know. Right. Yeah. Nice. Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, that's really, really good. Because I think, yeah, the on the face of it, it seems more difficult to, or it's the environmental case against red meat and particularly ruminant meat is easier to make. But perhaps when you get into the uh, details of other aspects beyond emissions, as you're saying, imported feed and so on, the picture doesn't look so great for other farmed animals either. Well, guys, we're at 5 minutes to the hour. I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but I have one more question, and then I'll ask about where people can find your website and social media and everything like that. In terms of strategy for plant-based universities overall, if you had an influx of £1 million tomorrow, how would you spend it? Where would that go? Little bit of a difficult question to end on. You can take a minute. Yeah, awesome. That's fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me, guys. I really, really appreciate you both taking the time. Do you want to shout out websites, social media, anything like that? Where's the best place for people to find plant-based universities, or any of you, if you guys do animal-related accounts? Nice. Thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate you both coming on. And yeah, I'll speak to you both soon. Thanks so much, guys. Take care. Cheers. Oh, we got no audio with the guest for some of it. No. Oh, that is silly me. What a cock up. Do we have it? Oh no. I'm so sorry, guys. Oh, you were telling me in chat. It broke about halfway through, huh? Oh no, that's so bad for me. I'm sorry, guys. Oh my goodness, what a fool. That should be an advantage of doing it live, because I can see when stuff like that is happening. Oh my goodness. How long did that go, I wonder, without audio? Was about half of it? Oh, I'm so sorry, guys. Yeah, I really need to look at chat more, hey. What a cock up. Hey, thank you, Alejandro and Greyhound Sleep, for trying to alert me. I appreciate that, guys. That is bad from me. I'm so sorry, guys. Cut off after like 25 minutes. Yeah, that sucks. I'm sorry, guys. That is so noobish. Yeah, I'm not in the habit of looking at chat when I do interviews. That is unfortunate. Oh, I thought that was working. Well, damn. Man, I need to not fuck stuff like that up in the future. Maybe I'll have those guys back on. They were really good. They were really good. It was a great conversation. No, I don't have it recorded either. That's a shame. I'm gonna have to talk to those guys again sometime, honestly, because they were really good. They had a lot of insights. There was a lot of good stuff in the first 25 that was audible. I thought that I had double audio going. I thought I had some like echo admin happening, so I muted one of them, but I should have looked at chat after that. What a fool. They were really good. They were both really, really good. Really, they're better they're better politicians than I am a broadcaster. Oh, dearie me. Well, listen, guys, we got a good half of the PBU conversation that you could hear. I'm so sorry about that. But let it not dampen our spirits, okay? We had some really good news today on Quorn sales rebounding in UK retail, the biggest UK plant-based meat company seeing sales coming back up, as well as Tyson closing down 2 more beef slaughterhouses in the US. What can you say? I'm such a noob, Oppenheimer. I need to have some sort of... I need to have an eye on chat, basically, while that's happening, because you guys could have told me live. That's meant to be an advantage of doing it live. If I was recording, then I wouldn't have known until afterwards. I didn't know until afterwards. But there you go. Well, I hope you got some value out of the first half of the convo, and maybe I'll have those guys back on, because they were both really good, honestly. And I hope that people are inspired to take part in plant-based universities. If you're a student in the UK or know someone who is, then get them over to plantbaseduniversities.org. It's where you can start your animal advocacy journey. And yeah, it's a real shame that we lost audio in the second half of the conversation. But yeah, that was a good first half. Maybe we'll have those guys back on in the future. And you know, we've got another stream lined up next week with another guest who's going to be Jimena Rodriguez from Vegan Hacktivists. And I think you guys are really going to like that one because it's a new platform. It's very much a Vegan 2.0 platform. It's a new platform that vegan hacktivists are launching called Flockwork, where you're able to connect with animal organizations and do one-off tasks for them and volunteering. And it's like a level above something like the Fast Action Network, where we're kind of coordinated social media posting. It's a level above that, and it's going to be a really great conversation next week. And hopefully I will not fuck up the recording. You're able to hear it. Goodness me. Hey, you win some, you lose some, all right? Thank you guys so much for joining. I appreciate you being here. Sorry again that I messed up the sound there. I would have thought I'd be over these errors a year into streaming, you know? But there we go. Not obsessed enough with chat, clearly. Thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate you tuning in. And I will see you guys next stream. Cheers.